Hey everyone and welcome back. Now in today's video we'll be discussing about the pre-signed URLs. Now one interesting thing here. Now in one of the organizations where I used to work in security, during that time the first question during the interview process was associated with the pre-signed URLs. So this topic is little close to my heart here. Now, in fact, this is the second time where we are recording this specific video, primarily because the first time when we had recorded, there were a lot of console changes which happened. So with the new console, let's go ahead and understand more about this. Now we can better understand this topic with a simple use case of a music company. So let's assume that you have a company ABC, which is an online music selling company, and once the user purchases a song, he should be able to download the song. Now your company has decided to store all of its song data in S3 due to its high durability option. Now how will you go ahead with this scenario? So let's go ahead and understand the example better in a graphical way. So in this scenario, you have a music S3 bucket and all of the MP3 files associated with the songs are stored in this S3 bucket. Now you have a user John and John has purchased one of the MP3 files via the ABC Music Company. So what he would like is whenever he requests to download the song A, he should be able to receive the song A back. Now, this song is stored in the S3 bucket, and if you would remember that whenever you store the data in a S3 bucket, you will need some type of credentials to go ahead and fetch the data from it. So in S3 bucket, all the objects are private by default. That means that only the users who have the appropriate S3 IAM policies would be able to access those objects. And the individuals who do not really have an AWS account, for them, if they want to access the bucket, then the bucket would need to be public. However, both of those options is not feasible in a longer run. So, in order to solve a scenario where a guest user can also download the object from S3 bucket without object being public, is the capability that can be achieved with the help of pre-signed URL. Now, with the help of pre-signed URL, object owner can optionally share the objects with others by creating a special link called as pre-signed URL that grants a time-limited permission to download the object. So via that special link, when you share that link with John, John will be able to download that object from the S3 bucket even though he does not have any credentials nor the object being public. So that's what pre-signed URL does. Now this pre-signed URL will help in achieving the use case as we are discussing, where after a user purchases the song and requests to download, your application should generate a pre-signed URL that will allow the MP3 file stored in the S3 bucket to be downloaded by the user. So that's the overall concept of pre-signed URL. So let's take a quick demo so that this becomes better understood. So for our today's demo, we have a S3 bucket called as sample bucket for encryption. And if you'll quickly open up here, you have one file called as lol.jpg. Now, when you open up this file, let me quickly show you. So this is basically the object URL. So when you try and open up this object URL, you will get this access denied error. Now, if you want to open this up, since this request does not really contain any access or secret key through which you can authenticate, that's the reason why you are getting an access denied error. However, if you want to open it up, what S3 does is that S3 generates a pre-signed URL through which you can open it up. So this is very interesting. Let's look into it. So let's go back to the S3 bucket. So when I click on this file, I go to actions and I click on open. And now if you see, the same image is now opening over here. So this is one of the funny image, and I actually understood the meaning after I got married. Anyways, so coming back to the topic here, the question is, why did this image open? And this image opened because S3 generated a pre-signed URL over here. And in fact, this URL, even if you try it in a Ignito mode, this will work. Let's try it out. So let's paste it in a Ignito mode here. And you see it is even working over here. Even though I am not logged in into AWS, it is working primarily because this link is a pre-signed URL, or as we are discussing, this is a special link through which a guest user can access the S3 object without authentication in the console or via CLI. So this URL itself, if you'll see over here, it already has this security token. Great. So I hope you understood why when you try to open up the object URL directly it does not work, but when you do it explicitly via the open option, it works, as that option generates the pre-signed URL. Great. So now one of the question that comes is that let's say that you have an application. So that application, as we are discussing, it basically goes ahead and generates the pre-signed URL and it sends it back to the user. So how will that application generate a pre-signed URL associated with a specific object? Let's look into it in a CLI way. Now in S3, if you do a AWS S3 pre-sign, here you will be able to go ahead and create a pre-signed URL. Let me quickly show you here. So if you look into this CLI reference, so you have AWS S3 pre-sign, then you have to specify the S3 URI, which also includes the object. So let's try it out. So I'll say S3 sample bucket for encryption, followed by the name of the object, which is lol.jpg, and then you have to specify the expires in. So expires in is nothing but the integer, which is number of seconds until the pre-signed URL expires. Now remember that this specific URL, this entire URL, this will expire after certain amount of time. So after the expiration, the same URL, it will not work. So here we can specify the expires in. Let's try it out. So I'll say expires in and we'll say 60 seconds. So now it has generated a unique pre-signed URL for me, and this URL is valid for only 60 seconds. So let's open it up, and within the Ignito mode in a different browser altogether, when I open up this link, you should be able to see the same image. Great. So I hope at a high level overview you understood the importance of a pre-signed URL. Now, as we are discussing, this option of expires is very important here, primarily because when a user requests to download a song and when the application sends a pre-signed URL, and if that URL does not expire, then what John can do is he can go ahead and share that URL among the internet or among the community. And through that URL, everyone will be able to download the same song. So with the expires here, even if he shares the URL that he has received, that URL, since it is expiring, he'll not be able to share it. And even if he decides to share, the URL will be expired after certain duration. Great. So let's also explore that expires part. Now this URL, if you see, it was working. Now within the new tab, let's try to make use of the same URL. And now you see you immediately got a access denied error, primarily because the same URL is now expired. Great. So I hope you understood the importance of pre-signed URL and also the importance of the expires option while generating one. So with this, we'll conclude this video. I hope this video has been informative for you, and I look forward to see you in the next video.